the lane. 15-10. Touchdown, Chargers.
All right, guys, welcome into a brand new training camp edition of Chargers Weekly. Look at this. I got the radio team. I got the radio team on day one, Money.
You did. I was supposed to tell DJ that he was doing this after our radio broadcast for the Petros and Money portion of the opening of training camp, which we went 9 to noon. And I forgot. And I said to Chris, I was like, everybody's gone. Should we just come back tomorrow and set up and do it? And he's like, no, remember, we're going to talk to DJ. DJ's going to, it's going to be our annual DJ podcast. And I was like, yeah.
DJ just found out.
Breaking news.
I didn't bring that up.
Breaking news.
The good news is DJ had already committed to going to Mr. Pickles with me for a sandwich.
Okay.
So I know he's got time.
You're
He can't be
paying.
like, I got to get out of here.
All that changes is whose card's going up to the counter.
Exactly right.
the
So
only
that's
thing
now
changing
changed.
right
Money's
now.
going to swipe it. Was he easy on you with the Padres? How much Padre talk?
He was actually. This is the thing as somebody who's a Padre fan. He views us as so irrelevant that we're
Right.
not even worth their
Exactly.
time. I mean, he's not even going to make fun of me. That would put us on some type of equal footing. He's not going to do that. So I was spared.
But that's the blessing, right? The Dodgers are supposed to beat the Padres. So when they do, he gives me obviously.
Yeah.
And then when they don't,
I-
last year,
win-win.
it's
Exactly.
6 months of pain. So it really, in terms of this conversation, let's just table that one. Because
we talked baseball for the first minute of this.
I was excited.
exactly.
Forget money, but I was excited to be with you, to see you again. How are the twins here? How we doing?
The girls are good. The girls are getting big, almost 2 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Things have changed in the last couple of years. I remember doing this podcast not knowing when they were going to be here.
Yeah.
I came
Yeah.
week 2 of Dallas, and now fast forward, we have a brand new squad here. The offensive coordinator of those Dallas Cowboys is now in Los Angeles, and really just I think the vibes today, guys, were great. Who'd you guys talk to? Everyone today. Staley,
Yeah.
Telesco, Derwin.
Derwin, Keenan, everybody was in a great mood. A lot of energy. That was the term that Derwin used, and I thought that was accurate. He said there's just a lot of energy out there, a lot of guys just kind of bouncing around, very excited about what's ahead of them.
And you guys, man, I really feel for you. Till 2029, you got to call Justin Herbert.
Right.
And, I mean, just the fact that this got done, DJ, before day one of camp, no distractions. We're just playing ball now.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's rare that you find a team that doesn't have some issue that's lingering. And there's nothing here. It is just football, and you could see it on Tom's face, on Tom Telesco's face. You could hear it in the voice of Brandon Staley how excited they are. It is solely focused on football. They're not happy with the way the year ended last year.
Of course.
But this team comes back healthier. They've added some nice pieces in the draft as well as in free agency. And Money and I were talking about this earlier. The Chargers have always been talked about as one of the more talented teams in the NFL. And it hasn't worked out. The last 2 seasons are great examples. The last game of the year did not go the way that you want it to go. That being said, this is the most talented roster that they've employed since we've been doing this.
It's crazy. And, Money, last week we talked about, I think maybe the number one on-field storyline was just the health of J.C. Jackson. And you see this PBU on Keenan Allen just to start like that 7-on-7 session. When he's healthy, I mean, what a pleasant surprise after the severity of what that injury was to see him back full strength.
Just a little, not really pulling the curtain back, but because I don't think it was on the air, but prior to the start of practice, we were talking about JC, and they said, we got to make sure to hold him back. Like that's what they said. He is, and DJ, you've been around a lot of players. Some guys, they get hurt and they're just content to be at training camp. I'll just tell them that it's lingering, and when it's time to turn it on, I'll turn it on. But they say JC wants to get out there and get after it, and that's very encouraging, like you said, Chris, especially considering the severity of the injury. We talked to Derwin, and he talked about that defensive back group, and when you hear him start rattling off the names, it's like, there's a pretty darn good group on the back end of this defense.
Money, we did. I think you guys pulled a tease from last week. We were talking about JC, and we rattled off all these guys. Everybody was upset we didn't mention Asante Samuel Jr.
Yeah.
And Asante obviously with those 3 interceptions. Money, just or DJ rather, the back end when you have Asante in his 3rd year and JC coming back and what Michael Davis was able to do last year, and then what we hope is a healthy Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. I feel like JC's almost like this new free agent that wasn't even on the team last year.
It's huge, and to me, when you look at the communication positions, there's two groups. The two biggest groups are you're going to look at the offensive line group and the DB group.
Yeah.
And that's where communication is huge. So when you have some continuity there, when you have guys that have been in the same system or have been around each other, usually those groups take steps. And I think when you look at on the offensive side, which we've talked about, getting Rashawn Slater back, now this is a young group, but they've played a lot together. And now you look on the defensive side of the ball, the communication. Derwin talked about all the, the different things he loves to do, using him in different roles. Well, that's all got to be communicated, when you're moving him around like that. So having Alohi Gilman back there with him, and now there's continuity between those guys, and Asante now has got more experience, and Mike Davis has been doing his thing. I think that's one of the more underrated components in the National Football League is the continuity, because the communication is necessary at those two positions.
I'll tell you something, Chris, like the thing that jumped, and we were doing the radio show, so we kind of were watching everything at a distance. We weren't really able to get up close and on the drills. But man, it was interesting the way it laid out, right? Because you have Smith and Jigba go, and then Quentin Johnston goes, and then Zay Flowers goes, and then Jordan Addison goes. So these four will be measured against one another, specifically the guys that were taken early. But just getting the first look at Johnston, and DJ and I were talking, and I saw a play, and then DJ saw another play, and we both just kind of said this, that you just saw him snatch a ball out of the air, and he was gone. I mean, gone on those quick slants. It's exciting to see someone after kind of watching what they were doing in college, and then you see him out here, and it's just, I don't know, DJ, it's like a different backdrop that you're watching.
No, it's real speed, and that's a group that's so big. When you think about Keenan and Mike and how big they are and how physical they are, then you see a guy who has that same type of body type. Now, obviously, those guys are so accomplished, and I'm not comparing him in that sense, but just when he catches it and his foot hits the ground, there's a gear that he has that this team doesn't have, So to be able to plug him in with that talented group, and it sounds like in talking to Derwin, he mentioned the fact that, these guys are all communicating well. They're taking the young guys under their wing. There's no competition there in terms of, he's going to take targets away from me. They're really helping him grow and develop, which is pretty cool to see.
And with Justin Herbert at the controls, he threw this bomb to John Hightower today.
I know.
He made John Hightower look like T. Billy from a couple of years ago. The fact that Joshua Palmer is the guy that we're not talking about too, who had an amazing catch. I think he may have been out of bounds on another one, but it doesn't really matter who's getting the targets. Like, Justin's going to find you. Darius Davis, another guy, a rookie, just to see. You see Keenan, who has been with this organization the longest of anybody, doing drills, and then all of a sudden you see Darius Davis, number 12. And his speed. That's another guy who's going to probably contribute on special teams and maybe be that fifth or sixth receiver.
Yeah, it's huge, and that's going to be a big role for them. Having that other speed element, because with Justin, when you have speed out there, not only with his arm can he reach anywhere on the field and be able to get those explosive plays. Austin Eckler's going to love it, money, because you're going to scare safeties out of there. Even if you're not connecting, even if you're not throwing the ball to those guys, just having that speed element in the offense is going to create more space.
And space for the running game, and that's the other thing you brought up, DJ, when we were watching, just looking at Rashawn Slater and thinking about that Lindsley, Filer, Slater left side of the line and how effective it was 2 years ago. It completely disappeared last year. Slater just looks, I don't know if he's just kind of got a little bit of a baby face or something, but you look at the way he looks as he's walking around this year versus his rookie season, it looks like a different person.
He's intentional. Like there is somebody that is really out there to remind everybody of how great he is. This is one of the best players in the NFL, regardless of position. I know he only had that 1 year where you saw it. He was elite. He walked onto an NFL field as a first-year player. It was an elite player. Chase Young, first week of the season.
I had a conversation with somebody last night about that Week 1 game, and we know how respectful and nice Rashawn Slater is. Yeah. He's almost disrespectful on the field. Like it's so easy.
Yeah.
He made Chase Young look like a mid-round.
It made him disappear. Yeah.
Completely. Set the tone. Guy doesn't even have his 5th-year option picked up. That was the beginning of the end of Chase Young, and I'm excited about that front. I think there's so much, and especially the way it ended for the Chargers that's said, we hear this every year, but again, you just forget how many injuries they had on that team, and specifically the offensive line. When you're in a playoff game and Sawyer gets hurt and you're going up against that pass rush of Josh Allen and Travon Walker, and they have really good. Arden Key was down there, and you've got Foster Sorrell out there. Nothing against him, but he's a depth piece, and you're in a playoff game, And you can just imagine now the talent they have with all the skill position players we listed. But most importantly, up front, you've got that protection to give that arm that extra beat or two that you need to push that ball downfield.
DJ, the offensive line, your evaluation is probably relatively fresh of what Zion did last year, and then what Sawyer was at Georgia and how he was thrust into action at left tackle. The fact that those guys are kind of swapping spots on each side of the respective line, how do you think that's going to shake out with Sawyer moving to right guard and then Zion going to left guard?
Well, I think the tackle to guard thing is going to be fine for Sawyer. He's got some experience playing guard, so it's not new to him there. And, to me, getting a chance to play with neighbors is going to be nice, because now you've got your edges protected, and now you got somebody that can really roll his hips and drive block and move people, and he can anchor down and pass protection. He's going to be great. I don't have any concern about that whatsoever. Zion, I think, is probably more of a challenging one, just switching from one side to the other. But again, he's got experience. He's got experience doing it. I think.
And
both
you got
guys,
2 All-Pros on each side.
Yeah, you're sandwiched between 2 All-Pros, so that's a pretty good spot to be in. I think they'll be fine. It may be a little bit of an adjustment period, but these guys, the things that made them good as young players, as rookies, is the fact they're incredibly smart and they're incredibly tough, and that doesn't change wherever you're playing.
Buddy, last week you were rattling off, I think, the comments of, was it the
Jeff Howard?
Jeff
yeah,
Howard.
Coach Howard.
Talking about
Deion
Henley. And from Thule to Henley, you're always looking at guys and identify guys that are going to make a contribution this year. What did you see out of Thule at USC and Henley at Washington State that makes you believe that they could contribute this year in some meaningful way?
Well, you start with production. I mean, a lot of times with players, you're trying to, okay, let's just kind of forecast into the future of what they can do, and they haven't figured it out yet. Maybe once they get it figured out, there'll be something. You don't have to do that. These guys are productive players that have played a lot of football. Tui Peloto, I believe, was leading the nation in sacks.
Yeah.
So you look at the production that he has, he's a finisher. He's somebody that's stout against the run. He's really, really strong, heavy-handed guy. So he is not going to wow you on the stopwatch. That's not who he is. He's not a tester, but he's a rock-solid football player who's going to fit in and have a role on this team. And then Deion Henley, goes from Nevada to Washington State. The speed, the explosiveness, that jumps off the tape. You watch him, play the pass, which you have to do at linebacker in this league. He's very comfortable doing that. So, I think he'll find his way initially, probably in some sub situations. Just get him in some third down packages, and I think you'll see his role, continue to grow throughout the year.
I'm interested, DJ, to see, because, when you talk about guys coming back from injury, you're adding, last year you didn't really get to add J.C. Jackson. You get to add him this year. Well, you're adding a healthy Joey Bosa, missed most of the season. You're adding, but to me, I think I'm most interested in the second-year players and thinking about how little they got out of Woods. They got nothing out of Spiller. He barely played. You saw a little bit out of Ja Taylor, because that's essentially like adding another rookie class because of how little they played. We get focused on the rookies because we haven't seen them yet. We don't have any negative connotations with them, but we've already talked about the secondary. To me, it's the running back, and just kind of whether or not they have that player on this team that can help keep Austin healthy and have him at peak production by the time the postseason rolls around.
Yeah, I wish we could have just seen some of Spiller to know it for ourselves. Apparently, you see what you saw on the practice field, and they had other options there. Joshua Kelly played great when he was healthy and out there on the field, so I'm excited to see him continue to improve and have that role as kind of a power back, a short yardage back, and finisher of runs. But to me, Spiller is a huge component. You've got Roundtree there, but to me, Spiller brings you some juice. So if you can get him out there, get him comfortable and confident in his assignment, what he's doing, catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So that, you're right, Money, that could be kind of like a bonus rookie, because we didn't see him last year.
Couple that with just a commitment to run this year under Kellen Moore, and we're envisioning what it's going to look like. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet, but your excitement level to see Kellen Moore and Justin Herbert kind of start this new marriage.
We visited with Kellen a little bit before practice, and it's almost when you're talking to him, you feel like you're talking to Justin. Like from a personality standpoint, I don't know if you can find a better match. Yeah. And then when you look at the system and how that's going to play out,
they're great in commercials too.
Yes, they are. Those
local car commercials.
Yes, up in the Pacific Northwest, fantastic. I'm excited to see what it looks like, because I think coming from Coach Peterson at Boise, and then his experience with Coach Linehan, and then obviously with the Dallas Cowboys running the show there, and how productive those offenses were, I think he's shown, and Coach Staley mentioned this, the ability to kind of morph and change around the personnel that he has. So I don't think we're going to see exactly the same thing we saw with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm excited to see what this Kellen Moore offense looks like here with the Chargers.
Yeah, and interested. You just feel like there's always that one player that just sort of jumps out. We were trying to find it, when we're watching just the undrafted free agents or size there. Is it Ezeke? We saw you were talking to Chip Kelly. He was out here, the UCLA head coach. Is it one of the running backs? Is it, which one of these individuals? And look, maybe it's just one of the later round picks like we had with Jamari Sawyer. Maybe it's Matlock. Like you stand next to that guy.
Yeah.
He is. He's got a. I don't know. Does anybody have a thicker trunk than that on the team? I mean, that guy is gigantic.
That's a big man.
Well, Austin Johnston and Tito Avonia, I think they're on the PUP to start, right?
Yeah.
So
Matlock may have a role.
See if he can get some meaningful run.
Is there a way you could find maybe a place where there's
I was just gonna say
than where we've set up?
I think this pod is going to be cut a little bit short because I know my knees feel as though they are on the surface of the sun, and then I look over at DJ's and I'm like,
I didn't know.
Roasting.
I didn't know that back of the knee sweat was a thing.
Yes.
But
it's
that is a real thing.
So DJ, during the summer, we're on Riverside, this. We're in our home offices. We're just riffing for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a 50-minute.
I should have known when Chris was had the lifeguard look today with all of the sunblock.
Did you see
that? I knew what I was in for.
Yeah.
You'd think I would have been a better scout than that.
I blame Greg Kim right before Justin Herbert's press conference. He goes, "Hey, you want some 50?" And I put it on. And he goes, "Hey, just so you know, you really got to rub it in." And then I look at my phone, and I look like it's completely white. I look like a mime.
You got the zinc going, dude. You
yeah.
got the zinc in there. You got to cover it. And that's why this pod is going to be very short this week. I am absolutely.
Who's our sponsor, by the way?
Right.
Do we have a sponsor for this
Yeah,
thing?
right.
Sponsored by SPF 50.
That's the thing.
Is it Casper
Mr.
mattresses?
Pickle.
No.
It's what it's going to be. It's going to be some sort of aloe vera. That's what it's
yeah.
going to be.
Sunburn
I'm going to
treatment.
need something, or Arctic ice. Just hit up the gas station, get a whole bag, and throw that in my lap.
Let's wrap it here.
on the
Let's
way
wrap
home.
it here because you guys just had a long interview with Coach Staley. Biggest takeaway talking to Coach today. This is his third year. You look at his first season, 9-8. Second year, 10-7. You get to the playoffs. We know how it ended, but this is a perfect opportunity to kind of keep building what he's doing here.
I would say there's a calm and confidence on a level that I haven't seen yet. I mean,
Right.
Coach has taken this team. They've taken steps. I think he's got, rightfully so, a reputation as one of the best defensive minds in the National Football League. We know his aggressive approach that he, got a reputation for being ultra aggressive, which we love calling the games. But to me, Money, I don't know what your takeaway was, but mine was just this is somebody who has really grown into this role and is comfortable and is confident.
You truly just took the two words out of my mouth. You didn't use them in your first description. You used calm, collect, and then I was like, you know what? I've got comfortable and confident. But to me, that's, some people thought maybe this is an individual that was trying to make a name for himself with the fourth downs in his rookie campaign, and how, there was a lot of he was very polarizing, a very polarizing hire after 1 year as a coordinator, and it just feels like that is all gone. This is someone who's confident in his approach and what he does, how he does it. There's so many of the same people around him. There's not been a lot of roster turnover. Your stars are still here. You just signed the quarterback for the next 7 years with a 5-year extension. There's just this, I'll use another C word, continuity. There is confidence and continuity, and that's what you get. Hey, this front office, ownership has provided me with an opportunity after missing the playoffs first year in Week 18. Yeah, see that, dude? Look at that. And I put sunscreen on.
Do I still have the lifeguard look, by the way?
A little
you look
bit.
great.
You just got a pale look to you.
Yeah.
You look
What
like
was the name of the lifeguard in the baseball movie? Peppercorn or whatever. What was her name?
trying to remember. You say lifeguard, and I just immediately think Baywatch.
No,
and then,
it was the movie.
Hasselhoff.
No, what's the baseball movie with the little kids and
Sandlot.
Sandlot.
Yes, Sandlot.
Do you
Thank
know-
you,
do you
Brian.
know-
Brian, what was the name of the lifeguard? Like Cindy Peppercorn or something
Something like that.
That's what you're going with right now.
Exactly right.
Not a
You
great
got to
look.
watch that movie, man. Come on.
Not a great look.
Girls get older, you got to expose them to that movie. It's
I
a
will.
classic.
We're all excited, Chris. Day one of training camp.
Yep.
It was
Hope springs eternal.
Yes, it was an impressive collection of talent out there for us to watch today. And I don't say that lightly. This team looks like it's really, really good. There's a lot of good players out there.
There's a lot of talent, and some of that coverage. I mean, these corners were on these wide receivers, almost like that sunblock is on your upper lip. But it was impressive. It was tight coverage.
Yes. DJ's in midseason form.
Yes, he is.
All right,
now I got to
guys,
go buy him a sandwich.
This is the cue. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
For DJ and Money, I'm Chris. This has been Chargers Weekly. Next week, we'll do this right after practice. We'll get some players, have them roast for 10 to 12 minutes like we did last year.
Thinking maybe we can find a better setup this year. I'm thinking we might have a pop-up. Maybe there's a pop-up somewhere at the facility that we can bring out this year. We owe it to the players.
Karen's going to bring us those light blue
Die Hard Bowl Club.
So we'll be in business.
The sun is right above us, so I'm just thinking there's got to be. And you know what? Just let me know if I've got to buy it. If I've got to buy the pop-up and I've got to bring it, I will bring it.
Here's the deal, guys. You can do the interview and lose 4 pounds. It's
Exactly
a
right.
win-win. It's a win-win.
Now, you lose 4 pounds, but you also lose 4 years on the back end of your life. So there's
You met your quota for the season. Stay one training camp.
Good to see you, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys.